Well, we start tonight with wildfires, and you might be wondering why there have been so many of them in recent weeks and what exactly is causing them, with extreme warnings in place for the whole of Scotland today and into tomorrow. Here are just some of the places where fires have broken out over the last few weeks. And today, crews have been tackling fires near Thurso, Peterhead, the Isle of Arran and in North Lanarkshire. We can have a look just here at some of the pictures. These are scenes from near Fannyside Loch, just outside Cumbernauld, where 6 engines have been on the scene to tackle the blaze, and some properties in the area were evacuated, including a dog kennel and a cattery. These are the latest examples and follow the situation last weekend in the Glentrool area of Galloway Forest Park, where campers had to be evacuated by emergency services. Meanwhile, these were the scenes here in the Kilpatrick Hills near Glasgow, where there have been 2 wildfires in recent weeks. So what is going on? Well, earlier I spoke to Rory Haddon, who's a professor of fire science, and asked him if there has been an increase in wildfires in Scotland.
It does seem that the consensus is building on the idea that we are getting more fires and they are becoming more intense. But it is still a very active area of research. But certainly, if other parts of the world, if we follow the same trends as there, then yes, we will be seeing more fires that are more intense.
And I'm going to assume that they start for a whole number of reasons, but what's the most... Is there a most common reason as to why we would see a wildfire start? Is it something that happens naturally? Is it human error? Is it malicious?
Most of this is human caused, and it could be malicious. We always see, every year there's a few malicious wildfires. But also, I think there's a lot of people who are, behaving, in a normal way, not deliberately setting out to start a fire, but perhaps just haven't been careful enough with the use of a barbecue or building a campfire or taking naked flames, out into the countryside with them. These things, the fires at this time of year, after this very long period of dry weather, you might think, it's okay, I'm going to pay attention, I'm going to make sure that this doesn't get out of control. But really, if a fire does ignite on the vegetation, you've got very little time to react before that fire starts spreading and starts burning through relatively large areas of land.
And Professor Haddon, why are they so difficult to control? Why do we see wildfires spreading so quickly? Why is it so difficult for our fire service to be able to manage them?
Of course, we have the weather. That's a very short-term thing. We've had these few days or weeks now of very dry weather. But there are longer-term trends at play here as well. We're changing how we use the wildland in Scotland. There are efforts around rewilding, changes of land use, reduction in grazing, reduction in the number and types of animals that are in the countryside. And what that has meant is that in some areas, the amount of vegetation has increased. And more vegetation means there's more fuel for the fire to burn. And that creates, in some cases, a much more intense fire that becomes very difficult to fight.
Professor.
You notice that, we news piece there from the BBC, the woman asked the guy, the fire expert, if these wildfires are something that could potentially happen naturally, and he kind of poo-pooed the idea. Right, okay. It's just, there's a lot of fear-mongering going on right now in relation to wildfires, okay? And I mean, this isn't anything new, really, and I'm not going to spend a particularly long time on this video. Just, I want to sort of bring people's attention back to, let me share this. Present. Honest. I really do not like the way StreamYard operates anymore. I've said this before, but I really don't like it. Where was it? Oh, yeah. Here we go. Right. This was from 2023. Okay. Remember the Carnick wildfire, which was dubbed the worst wildfire in the UK I don't know if it's historically speaking or just as far as 2023 was concerned. I can't recall off the top of my head, but firefighters must be equipped to face the new normal of wildfires, says Maggie fucking Chapman. Right, this is, as I say, 2023. And, she was calling this, she was attributing it to, the climate crisis, referring to it, as it says there, the new normal. Maggie Chapman has warned that massive wildfires of the scale that have been ripping through the Highlands in recent days are the new normal. Tinderbox conditions and wind helped worsen the spread of a blaze at Carnick, which lies east of Loch Ness and around 30 miles south of Beauly. Right? And of course, Uh, Wild campers may have sparked 3-day blaze. This was from the fucking fire service themselves. So on the face of it, whenever you hear the term wildfire or whenever they try to sort of engage in fear mongering, etc., in the news by talking about wildfires, initially a lot of people might sort of subconsciously think this is the equivalent of like having a magnifying glass with a sun ray hitting down and you fucking burn a bug or whatever, and they just spontaneously combust. These fires are created out of nowhere, right? Dry conditions, right? It stands to reason dry conditions, right, can lead to fires if somebody, human error, irrespective of whether or not it was malevolent, malicious, and or just unintentional, it doesn't matter. Dry conditions stands to reason. I don't see why this is such a sort of hot topic, pardon the pun, relating to hot in regards to fearmongering. I just don't get it. It stands to reason. We've had a nice couple of weeks in Scotland and fires have broken out. And I can guarantee you that not fucking one of them will have been created due to Mother Nature in and of itself. Okay? There's such a thing as controlled burning in Scotland. And why does controlled burning occur? I think we all know this. I don't need to sort of preach to the choir and or insult people's intelligence. But okay, but we know that this is a thing that occurs. Okay? And then of course 2024, the reason why Scotland's wildfires have plummeted this year compared to the last decade. Okay, this was last year. And guess what? It stands to reason. Rocket science, I think not. The number of wildfires recorded in Scotland this year are about a third of what they have been annually over the past decade, figures have revealed. A total of 48 wildfires have happened so far in 2024, according to the latest Scottish Fire and Rescue Service incident reporting data. This compares to 145 recorded last year, and 146 in 2022, and 143 in 2021. Right? And what's the reason for it? In 2020, when the pandemic hit, the number dropped to 103 wildfires. March and April are when wildfires are most frequent, which was when time outside for people was heavily restricted during the first lockdown. 2019, however, there were 179. In 2018, there were 210. You're starting to notice a pattern here? Human error, people? Yes. While 2024's figures cover incidents up until August, the data shows wildfires are much less frequent in the autumn and winter over the last decade. Maximum number of wildfires detected annually between September and December was 17 in 2018. Right, but what's the reason for it? A wet spring and summer, you know? And then, of course, it doesn't matter which article you really look up, but the same principle applies here. They then go on to say that this was the wettest on record. It's somewhere here. Wait 2 seconds. Record. Let me see. Sorry. Very. Fuck's sake. Oh, yeah, here we go. Met Office has confirmed this summer has been the wettest on record. Okay. So if it's wet, there's less fires. If any at all. If it's dry, there's more fires. It's not fucking climate change, though, is it? No, it's not. But it doesn't stop the Scottish Greens. Of course it doesn't stop the Scottish Greens. Scottish wildfires must serve as an alarm bell for climate disaster. Climate efforts must be ramped up to reduce the risk of lasting damage. What? A dry spell that once upon a time would have been celebrated and enjoyed by everybody has to be attributed to climate change all of a sudden. You know? Scottish Fire and Rescue Service has issued several wildfire warnings across the Highlands, with further alerts being issued across the lowlands as the weather gets warmer and people spend more time outdoors. Again, emphasis on fucking people. People! Dry spell, and then, of course, things may occur. Just think back to Canada or California or Australia. Wildfires, arson, malevolence, or just human error. Okay? Oh god, it's a climate disaster. And of course, I'm not going to be subscribing to The National, but even the fucking headline. Lorna Slater sounds climate change alarm over Scottish wildfires. All right. And she says, of course, this is the impact of climate change. What? Because we've had a couple of weeks of dry weather, which, as I said, once upon a time would have been celebrated and enjoyed by everybody. But no. So if it's wet, that's climate change. If it's dry, it's climate change. Doesn't matter what the hell the weather happens to do in any particular season and or year. It's always going to be attributed to the conveniently renamed agenda of climate change. You know,